One of the elders answered, saying unto me, What are these which are arrayed in white robes? And whence came they? And I said unto him, Sir, you knowest. And he said to me, These are they which came out of great tribulation, and have washed their robes, and made them white in the blood of the Lamb.
Shabbat Shalom, family. Our selection today, these are they.
Was on yesterday morning out on a lonely isle in the beauty of the dawning. As John was in exile, he heard a voice resounding across the rolling sea, like mighty billows abounding. John fell down on his knees. These are they from every nation who have washed their garments white, coming up through great tribulation to a land of pure delight, coming up from every nation on the way to the crowning program, coming up through great tribulation to a land of pure delight. He saw the tribes of Israel coming up before the throne of the story grand to tell of the burdens they had borne. I saw another marching crowd of the number none had known, shouting glory loud and long as they marched around the throne. These are they from every nation who have washed their garments white, coming up through great tribulation to a land of pure delight, coming up from every nation on the way to the crowning program, coming up through great tribulation to a land of pure delight. It was on yesterday morning out on a lonely isle in the beauty of the dawning. As John was in exile, he heard a voice resounding across the rolling sea, like mighty billows abounding. John fell down on his knees. These are they from every nation who have washed their garments white, coming up through great tribulation to a land of pure delight, coming up from every nation on the way to the crowning program, coming up through great tribulation to a land of pure from every nation
On the way,
to the crowning program,
coming up through
great tribulation.
a land of pure delight.
The oracles of the UCI. 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you're sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as dear children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becomes saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you upon earth, therefore let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame, and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
And Yahweh Elohim said, It is not good that the man should be alone. I will make an helpmeet for him. And out of the ground Yahweh Elohim formed every beast of the field, and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. And Adam gave names to all cattle, and to the fowl of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found an helpmeet for him. And Yahweh Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam. And he slept, and he took one of his ribs, and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib, which Yahweh Elohim had taken from man, made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. And Adam said, This is now bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore, shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
And welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Latonia, Georgia. We're going to begin today's sermon in Proverbs chapter 31, verse 1. Today's sermon is entitled, The Helpmeet. Proverbs 31, and let's start at verse 1.
The words of King Lemuel, the prophecy that his mother taught him. What, my son? And what? The son of my womb. And what? The son of my vows. Give not your strength unto women, nor your ways to that which destroys kings. It is not for kings, O Lemuel, it is not for kings to drink wine, nor for princes strong drink, lest they drink and forget the law, and pervert the judgment of any of the afflicted.
Now, that there are instructions that tells you it is not for kings, O Lemuel, it is not for kings to drink wine, nor for princes strong drink, lest they drink and forget the law and pervert the judgment of any of the afflicted. Give strong drink unto them that is ready to perish, and wine unto those that be of heavy hearts. Verse 7, let him drink and forget his poverty and remember his misery no more. Sometimes we drinking as if we in poverty and as if we need to forget something. This individual is being warned. The more you let that go down your throat, the more problems you're going to have. See, it's something when you are given foundation things before all of this comes to play in your life. Be careful with this strong drink. Be careful with this wine. Because this may lead you to pervert judgment. And you think about it. We get to a point where we've drunk too much. Now we start violating things. Now all of a sudden we don't remember basic rules. We start doing things that we ain't seen nobody else do. Now what made you feel so comfortable as to do that? That drink. That's why they call it liquid courage. There's some people down at the morgue right now because they had too much of that liquid courage. And they decided, you know what? I think I can take Big Black. What made you feel that way? Glenmo? That gin you've been sipping on? All of a sudden you got a cake. This instruction. And you have to, this whole chapter is rather interesting because as we get toward the end, we're going to go back to something that was in the beginning of what this individual was told. Go ahead.
Verse 8, open your mouth for the dumb and the cause of all such as are appointed to destruction. Open your mouth. Judge righteously.
We don't see that this is a part of righteousness, that you open your mouth for the dumb. What happened? There's a situation that may present itself, and then you need to step up, open your mouth so that righteous judgment can happen. You open your mouth for the individuals who can't. So when we decide that we are not going to do that, we have done unrighteously. But we think we just being neutral. No, you was being wicked. Let's go ahead and call this what it is. Yahweh didn't give you the word for you to sit on it, to watch the perversion of judgment and sit quiet. That ain't what he gave it to you for. Go ahead.
And plead the cause of the poor and needy. Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies.
Now, verse 10, who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. In verse 3, she told him, give not your strength unto women. Now, wait a minute. There's a separation between these. It says a virtuous woman, but it says give not your strength unto women. Now, she's dealing with some balance here. There's some balance here. Keep reading.
The heart of her husband does safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil.
He don't trust in women, though. But he trusts in a virtuous woman. Go ahead.
She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax and works willingly with her hands.
You know, a lot of times you see people walking around, they have the virtuous woman shirt on. Mm-hmm. They have they got virtuous woman apparel. You know what I'm saying? Shirts, jackets, everything. Now, it starts talking about all of these things that the virtuous woman do. And you might see somebody and they got on a virtuous woman outfit. And you say, what you done today? Oh, I was asleep till noon. You need to take that shirt off. You need to take that shirt off. Go ahead.
She is like the merchant's ships. She brings her food from afar. She rises also while it is yet night and gives meat to her household and a portion to her maidens.
There's some folk that don't even know what a spice is at in their kitchen. Go ahead.
She considers a field and buys it.
Where'd she get that money from? Keep reading.
With the fruit of her hands.
Okay.
She plants a vineyard.
So this ain't his money she's spending, it's her money she's spending. Go ahead.
She girds her loins with strength and strengthens her arms. She perceives that her merchandise is good. Her candle goes not out by night.
She got stuff to do. She still work. Her candle ain't going out because she need light to keep working. Go ahead.
She lays her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff. She stretches out her hand to the poor, yea, she reaches forth her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet.
She made sure of that. See, even when a man is the breadwinner, that don't mean he, go and get all of the stuff that they need. You turn around and it's supposed to be cold tomorrow. You get up, go to work, and it's a coat, some gloves, and some thick socks laying by the door. Who did that? I mean, you made the money, but you didn't buy those socks. You made the money, but you didn't put out no coat. You were going to freeze to death. Somebody already took care of that. Go ahead.
She makes herself coverings of tapestry. Her clothing is silk and purple. Her husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land. She makes fine linen and sells it and delivers girdles onto the merchant. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. She opens her mouth with her wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. Mm-hmm. She looks well to the ways of her household.
She looks well to the ways of her household. Understand, she's not all out doing all of these works to be seen by men until she done took care of her house. When you see her house taken care of, when you see her the people in her house done already ate. See, we be cheating with the ready-to-eat meals. We got them hungry man dinners. Now, when you see her family already taken care of. See, how it's written, it says, love starts at home and then it's spread abroad. See, we're ready to do this over here. Whoa, I need you to turn around, back up. Did you take care of that stuff in your house? Okay, put that down. Go over there and take care of that stuff in your house. Then you come back over here and see what's left. Go ahead.
Brother, when you look at verse 23, it says her husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land. Didn't necessarily say that he was an elder.
Mm-hmm. Right. Go ahead.
She looks well to the ways of her household and eats not the bread of idleness.
She eats not the bread of idleness. That idleness is what gets you in trouble. So instead of being idle, because see, idle leads to all this gossiping and all of these other things. She don't deal with that. because she know that that's going to lead to trouble. Go ahead.
Her children arise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many daughters have done virtuously, but you excelleth them all. Favor is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman that fears Yahweh, she shall be praised.
That is the true beauty of a woman. Her fear of Yahweh makes her the most beautiful in that area because of her love for Yahweh. Go ahead.
Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates.
All right, let's go to Ephesians chapter 5. Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 22. It's rather interesting that when you talk about instruction, there was instruction about how a man safely trusts in a virtuous woman. But before that, the first thing he was taught was give not your strength unto women. So the first way he's supposed to start off his life is giving not his strength unto women. And then he finds a virtuous woman. We operate the opposite. We on the 34 bus trying to see how we can give away our strength. To everybody, how you doing? Here go my strength. How you doing? What's your name? Here go my strength. You riding? You getting on the train? Here go my strength. You're walking in the room backwards. You give not your strength first. Then you find this. Matter of fact, if you have offered your strength everywhere, you know what you have is virtuous. You pass not your strength to everybody who walk by. Ephesians chapter 5, and let's start at verse 22.
Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto the Adonai. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as the Mashiach is the head of the church, and he is the Savior of the body. Therefore, as the church is subject unto Yahshua, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything.
Now, there's balance in that subjection too. Yahweh says, yes, the wife is supposed to be subject unto her husband in everything. Keep reading.
Husbands, love your wives.
Now, that's not love your wives how you think, this ought to be done. Have you even communed with her to figure out how she wants to be loved? Or you just gonna love her the way you want to love her? Go ahead.
Even as Yahshua also loved the church and gave himself for it.
Do you love her enough to give yourself? What does that mean? That means I'm willing to change some things about me. Some things that I've gotten accustomed to doing. I'm willing to alter some of those things. Now, I can't alter who I am. I will never alter who I am for anybody. But if you give yourself for something, you're willing to make some changes for it. Go ahead.
That he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word, that he might present it to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it should be holy and without blemish. So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. He that loves his wife loves himself.
So then how we treat our spouses is a representation of how we deal with ourselves. Go ahead.
For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, even as the Adonai the church. For we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bones. For this cause shall a man leave his father and his mother. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh. This is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Yahshua and the church. Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife, even as himself. and the wife see that she reverence her husband.
Right. But for her to reverence her husband, then he is supposed to show that love. She is supposed to be reciprocating the love. If he loves his wife as he loves himself, then it opens the door for her to reverence her husband. Let's go to Titus chapter 2.
$12.84.
And we're going to read verses 1 through 10.
Titus is after 2 Timothy. Titus chapter 2 and verse 1. But speak you the things which become sound doctrine, that the aged men be sober, grave, temperate, sound in faith, in love, in patience. The aged women likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh holiness, not false accusers, not given to much wine, teachers of good things.
Now, this is that thing where it says the aged men in verse 2, verse 3, the aged women. We have no problem walking around calling ourselves elder and mother, because we physically old. But where is the spiritual maturity that is supposed to be going along with that? Oh, I'm mother this. Oh, I'm elder that. Where's the spiritual maturity that's supposed to accompany that? And you have to be very careful when we throw around these titles of mother this and elder that. And you ain't walked in that word, and then somebody come and decide because they listened to your title and they came and asked you a question and you done led them folk down the wrong path. You gonna answer for that. Why? Because you walked around with a title that you shouldn't been walking around with. You walking around throwing around mother and elder, and them people came and asked you some questions because they figured you were experienced in the word. No. You just may be old. That don't mean you experienced in the word. Be very careful. It's no different than you go and walk down the aisle of Walmart with a fireman outfit on and a fire break out and everybody run to you. What to do? Oh, I don't know. I got this at Party City. Now what if them people die following you and you was on your way to a costume party? They're gonna hold you accountable. Do you realize in traffic you getting ready to pull in and people back up and you say, you realize you just took the role of a traffic cop when you directed them? You realize if they have an accident, you do realize that you are financially liable, right? Because you did this. They listened to you. They came around, car hit them head on. Guess what? You was the cause of that accident. Did you know that? Did you know that you were taking on that responsibility? So be careful about them titles you put in front of your name. You ain't earned that right. Go ahead.
Verse 4. That they may teach the young women to be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children.
And if you ain't doing that, you sure can't teach them how to do what you ain't doing. Go ahead.
To be discreet, chaste, keepers at home, good, obedient to their own husband.
And you'll keep her at home, the house taken care of before you start something else. You keep us at home, your family already ate. Go ahead.
That the word of Elohim be not blasphemed. Young men likewise exhort to be sober-minded. In all things, showing yourself a pattern of good works. In doctrine, showing uncorruptness, gravity, sincerity, sound speech that cannot be condemned, that he that is of the contrary part may be ashamed, having no evil thing to say of you. Exhort servants to be obedient unto their own masters, and to please them well in all things, not answering again, not purloining, but showing all good fidelity, that they may adorn the doctrine of Elohim, our Savior, in all things.
All right. Let's go to 1 Peter chapter 3. See, there was need to write unto the Gentiles because they had a different culture. See, our culture was laid out throughout the statutes of the law and the things that we were raised up in. But then as we became in these places growing up, we are become in need of the very thing that was written to the Gentiles. Why? Because then we became raised up without the law. So now, what is their end is our beginning. Because we then back up, we get off into this part, because that's what they teach us first. They teach us the New Testament. And we start reading, and then we realize as we decide, let me go get the foundation. And realize that this was the part that was for you. Now you got to get deeper. This part is for them. They didn't have any culture. But when we got punished, one generation and we didn't have no culture either. 1 Peter chapter 3, and we're going to read verses 1 through 17.
Likewise, you wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that if any obey not the word, they also may without the word be won by the conversation of the wives.
Now, your conversation is not just what you say, it is what you do. But we have to be careful how we are won by the conversation of the wife. What conversation are you won over by? Go ahead.
While they behold your chaste conversation coupled with fear, whose adorning, let it not be that outward adorning of plaiting the hair and of wearing of gold or of putting on of apparel, but let it be the hidden man of the heart, in that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of Elohim of great price. For after this manner, in the old time, the holy women also, who trusted in Elohim, adorned themselves, being in subjection unto their own husbands.
He said adorn. Now, when people look at adornment, they look at earrings, bracelets, gold, jewels. He says the best adorning was how they treated their spouse. You find when it's time to leave out, very few women leave out the house without putting on the earring. They go out and say, I feel naked. I forgot to put on my earrings and stuff. He said, I got a better adornment for you. This stuff looks beautiful on you. Have you seen what this looks like? Go ahead.
That's your clutch bag. You clutch his hand and bring him on with you.
Hey, this is beautiful right here. This is better than any coordination you can have. Go ahead.
Even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him master, whose daughters you are, as long as you do well, and are not afraid with any amazement. Likewise, you husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge.
Now, it's getting deeper now. Likewise, you husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge. That means you have to have the knowledge of what is before you and what you are dealing with and how to deal with that is in front of you. If you don't know nothing, you can't do nothing. You don't know the limitations of what's in front of you, then you don't know how to guide it. It's a difference between walking a Chihuahua and walking a pit bull. You ain't ready. That pit bull finna drag you all across town. You didn't dwell with that according to knowledge. You wasn't considering the power that it brought. You didn't consider your feet need to be shoulder width apart. You need to squat down. You need to get ready. It's about to, there he go. Too late. You wasn't ready. Now you're not walking the dog walking for you. You didn't dwell with it according to knowledge. You didn't understand the power that was in front of you. You didn't respect it. It is now dragging you. You ain't walking it. Go ahead.
Giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, be you all of one mind, having compassion one of another, love as brethren, be pitiful, be courteous, not rendering evil for evil or railing for railing, but contrariwise blessing, knowing that you are thereunto called, that you should inherit a blessing. For he that will love life and see good days, let him refrain his tongue from evil, and his lips that they speak no guile. Let him eschew evil and do good. Let him speak peace and ensue it. For the eyes of the Adonai are over the righteous, and his ears are open unto their prayers. But the face of the Adonai is against them that do evil. And who is he that will harm you, if you be followers of that which is good? But and if you suffer for righteousness' sake, happy are you. And be not afraid of their terror, neither be troubled. But sanctify the Adonai Elohim in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asks you a reason of the hope that is in you with meekness and fear, having a good conscience, that, whereas they speak evil of you, as of evildoers, they may be ashamed that falsely accuse your good conversation in Yahshua. For it is better, if the will of Elohim be so, that you suffer for well-doing than for evil-doing.
All right. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 7. And before I forget, we will be celebrating our new moon tonight. Sundown, I want to say about 8:30. First Corinthians chapter 7, and we're going to start that at verse 1.
Verse 1. Now concerning the things whereof you wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. Let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, and likewise also the wife unto the husband. The wife has not power of her own body, but the husband. And likewise also the husband has not power of his own body, but the wife.
When you are becoming one, then it is no longer solely about what you desire to happen in your body, what you desire to happen within your life. You know, we have those things of where we in school, they have the three-legged race. So they tie one of y'all legs together. You got one free leg, she got one free leg. But that other leg tied together. Oftentimes, the fast people are the first ones to lose this race. Because they don't realize the joined leg has to move together. So you put two fast people together, and they the fastest one for their feet to hit the ground. Because they're operating as two individually fast people instead of one joined entity moving consistently with one another. That means they have to practice. All right, together. This leg move together. This leg move together. This leg move together. Doesn't matter how fast you are individually. If you don't move that joined leg together, you're going to fall. And the more things you join your leg to, you decide you're going to join the other leg. Now you got a serious act of balancing you got to do now. Because you don't have to, before you still had one on your own. Now you got to make sure every last one of these move together. Go ahead.
Verse 5. Defraud you not one the other, except it be with consent for a time, that you may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and come together again, that Satan tempt you not for your incontinency. But I speak this by permission and not of commandment.
So Satan will look at what's happening in your house and come at you accordingly. Satan will look at what's not done in your house and offer you the things that ain't being done now. Brother, this has been a long while. You know what? You ain't had no lasagna, have you? Yeah, because I noticed, she don't make that. Why don't you come by here? Lucifer knew how to come at you. Oh, don't worry, he coming at her too. Man, I see y'all grass high, buddy. Don't be cutting that grass, do it. Buddy, don't be cutting no grass. Shoot. My first job was lawn service. I know my way around a lawnmower. Let me show you my weed eater. Don't let them see that weed eater. Read, bro.
For I would that all men were even as I myself. But every man has his proper gift of Elohim, one after this manner, and another after that. I say therefore to the unmarried and widows, it is good for them if they abide even as I. But if they cannot contain, let them marry, for it is better to marry than to burn. And unto the married I command, yet not I, but the Adonai. Let not the wife depart from her husband. But and if she depart, let her remain unmarried, or be reconciled to her husband, and let not the husband put away his wife. But to the rest speak I, not the Adonai. If any brother has a wife that believes not, and she be pleased to dwell with him, let him not put her away. And the woman which has an husband that believes not, and if he be pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him. For the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife.
So you have to look at the amount of power that we wield with one another when we become one with one another. That means one has the ability to save the other. That only happens when you join, though. We want to go off and save the world. You can't say that. You can't say that ain't yours. You can't say that. We trying to save stuff don't belong to. We trying to save stuff at the mall. That ain't yours. You can't say that. Go ahead.
And the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband. Else were your children unclean, but now are they holy. But if the unbelieving depart, let him depart. A brother or a sister is not under bondage in such cases. But Elohim has called us to peace.
Now this is what people like to play games. They mistreat somebody, then the person leave and then say, I'm not under bondage. She left. So I can move on with my life. Well, you put her in a cage and fed her apple. I would have left too. You damn right you opened the gate and she ran out. Go ahead.
For what knoweth you, O wife, whether you shall save your husband? Or how knoweth you, O man, whether you shall save your wife? But as Elohim has distributed to every man, as the Adonai has called everyone, so let him walk. And so ordain I in all churches. Is any man called being uncircumcised? Let him not become. Is any man called being circumcised? Let him not become uncircumcised. Is any called in uncircumcision? Let him not be circumcised. Circumcision is nothing, and uncircumcision is nothing, but the keeping of the commandments of Elohim.
Keeping of the commandments of Elohim? What is he talking about? There are two different paths toward righteousness. There's the path of righteousness that was given for the Gentiles, and there's a path of righteousness given toward the children of Israel. But see, that's not what's being taught today. They keep giving us this one-size-fits-all doctrine, and when they get to something that doesn't make sense, they don't know how to deal with it. A whole nother doctrine pops up because they got to try to find a way to make that the same. I mean, if you listen to the televangelists, you're going to be so confused. They Gentiles, but they Israel at the same time. How you going to be both of those? Go ahead.
But you see, that's that whole verse 18. Is any man called being a Yehudi, let him not become a Gentile.
Uh-huh.
Is any man called in being a Gentile, let him not become a Yehudi. Your thought process. Mm-hmm. How do you become a Gentile? Our thought process led us to that.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 20. Let every man abide in the same calling wherein he was called. Are you called being a servant? Care not for it. But if you may be made free, use it rather. For he that is called in the Adonai, being a servant, is the Adonai's free man. Likewise also he that is called being free is Yahshua's servant. You are bought with a price. Be not ye the servants of men. Brethren, let every man, wherein he is called, therein abide with Elohim. Now concerning virgins, I have no commandments of the Adonai, yet I give my judgment, as one that has obtained mercy of the Adonai to be faithful. I suppose, therefore, that this is good for the present distress. I say that it is good for a man so to be. Are you bound unto a wife? Seek not to be loosed. Are you loosed from a wife? Seek not a wife. But and if you marry, you have not sinned. And if a virgin marry, she has not sinned. Nevertheless, such shall have trouble in the flesh, but I spare you. But this I say, brethren, the time is short. It remains that both they that have wives be as though they had none, and they that weep as though they wept not, and they that rejoice as though they rejoiced not, and they that buy as though they possessed not, and they that use this world as not abusing it, for the fashion of this world passes away. But I would have you without carefulness. He that is unmarried cares for the things that belong to the Adonai.
Now listen. He that is unmarried cares for the things that belongs to the Adonai. Go ahead.
How he may please the Adonai.
Uh-huh.
But he that is married cares for the things that are of the world, how he may please his wife.
Now we got an issue. Now we got an issue. Now what happens now if you now have a married man who also is a servant of the Most High? Now he's got to exercise some balance. See, out in the world, he had to exercise no balance. Just make what they tell you. Happy wife, happy life. But once we walk in this word, now we got to say, oh, no. We got to add happy Elohim unto this picture. We got to add happy God unto this. It ain't just happy wife, happy life. No. We got something that goes in front of that has to be happy first. This is where things get interesting. Go ahead.
There is difference also between a wife and a virgin. The unmarried woman cares for the things of the Adonai, that she may be holy both in body and in spirit. But she that is married cares for the things of the world, how she may please her husband. And this I speak for your own profit, not that I may cast a snare upon you, but for that which is comely, and that you may attend upon the Adonai without distraction.
You see that? That you may attend on the Adonai, upon the Adonai without distraction. This is why you had to give the Gentiles certain rules. Look, you don't need to add too many things here. All right? You badly know how to walk as it is. Go ahead.
But if any man thinks that he behaves himself uncommonly toward his virgin, if she pass the flower of her age, and need so require, let him do that. He will. He sins not. Let them marry.
Now listen now. You have to then learn how to define the word marry. Because he said, if any man think that he behave himself uncommonly toward his virgin, how is it his? He in covenant with her. But then at the end, he says, if she about to pass the flower of her age, that means she's passing the point where she may be able to have children. And need, so require, let him do what he will. He sins not. Let them marry. What do you mean marry? How does he define this term marry? I never forget one of my kids asked me, and it was the cutest thing, but it was also like somebody been listening to something. We end up saying, hey, we your mama is pregnant. She having a baby. The kid said, when y'all get married again? So you know what? The kid got a point. The kid got a point. You know what? Hold on. Let me. Right here. Right here. No. The kid got a point. Kid, when y'all get married again? What was I? What was I when y'all got out? Y'all didn't invite me. No, you can't come to the wedding. Read, bro.
Nevertheless, he that stands steadfast in his heart, having no necessity, but has power over his own will, and has so decreed in his heart that he will keep his virgin, does well. So then he that gives her in marriage does well, but he that gives her not in marriage does better. The wife is bound by the law as long as her husband lives, but if her husband be dead, she is at liberty to be married to whom she will.
She is at liberty to be married to whomever she will, as long as he is dead. See, this is where you have to righteously deal with the departing and all of these things. But it says she's bound to him as long as he lives. This is going to be a hard conversation for some people to have. When Yahshua say, where is your husband? He said, he right here. No, he ain't. That ain't him. I seen your husband. That ain't him. Go ahead.
Only in the Adonai. But she is happier if she so abide after my judgment. And I think also that I have the spirit of Elohim.
All right, let's go to Matthew chapter 19. See, some of us don't even know why we should be working. Some of us should be standing at the door before we even get here to open it. Matthew chapter 19, and let's start that at verse 1.
And it came to pass that when Yahshua had finished these sayings, he departed from Galilee and came into the coast of Judea beyond Jordan. And great multitudes followed him, and he healed them there. The Pharisees also came unto him, tempting him, and saying unto him, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? And he answered and said unto them, have you not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female, and said, for this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they two shall be one flesh? Wherefore they are no more two, but one flesh. What therefore Elohim has joined together, let not man put asunder. They say unto him, why did Moshe then command to give a writing of divorcement and put her away? He says unto them, Moshe, because of the hardness of your heart, suffered you to put away your wives. But from the beginning, it was not so.
From the beginning, it was not so. But so that y'all don't hurt one another. Go ahead.
And I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, commits adultery.
A whole lot of people going to have a problem right here. This New Testament, this ain't old. So where y'all got divorced? We have irreconcilable differences. Irreconcilable what? I've been looking all through here. I couldn't find irreconcilable differences. I looked for them, but I didn't see that in here.
You just got an annulment. We just agreed that it had never happened.
What? So what about that kid over there? That kid not really standing over there? So I see that kid, but the kid not really there. It is a mirage of a kid. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
And whoso marries her which is put away does commit adultery. His disciples say unto him, If the case of the man be so with his wife, it is not good to marry. But he said unto them, All men cannot receive this saying, save they to whom it is given. For there are some eunuchs which were so born from their mother's womb, and there are some eunuchs which were made eunuchs of men, and there be eunuchs which have made themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven's sake. He that is able to receive it, let him receive it. Then were there brought unto him little children, that he should put his hands on them and pray. And the disciples rebuked them. But Yahshua said, Suffer little children, and forbid them not to come unto me, for of such is the kingdom of heaven. And he laid his hands on them, and departed thence. And, behold, one came and said unto him, Good master, what good thing shall I do, that I may have eternal life?
Not what good thing I shall do that I might go to heaven. Go ahead.
And he said unto him, Why calleth you me good? There's none good but one, that is Elohim. But if you will enter into life, keep the commandments. He says unto him, Which? Yahshua said, You shall do no murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness.
You know the one thing he don't say? Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Look, everybody in the land know that. This is normal stuff for them. They ain't got to tell him to keep the Sabbath. We the ones that have to remember to keep the Sabbath. The whole land kept the Sabbath. Businesses shut down on Friday. Go ahead.
Honor your father and your mother, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself. The young man says unto him, All these things have I kept from my youth up. What lack I yet? Yahshua said unto him, If you will be perfect, go and sell that you have, and give to the poor, and you shall have treasure in heaven, and come and follow me. But when the young man heard that saying, he went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions.
Now, you're dealing with two levels of things, though. He went from asking to have eternal life, and now it has now jumped up because he says, Hey, what lack I yet? All right. If you will be perfect, that means, oh, you want to go on this next level? Sell everything you have and come follow me. See, now he like,
You know what? Wait a minute. I'm not ready for that level right there.
see, you better learn how to be content with the level that you on. Because the higher that level is, the more he going to require of you. He going to require something else. Oh, you stepping up on this? All right, well, let me show you what's needed. Now, I'm going to give you this over here, but let me tell you what you're going to have to forfeit to get this over here. Go ahead.
Then said Yahshua unto his disciples, Verily I say unto you, that a rich man shall hardly enter into the kingdom of heaven. And again I say unto you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of Elohim. When his disciples heard it, they were exceedingly amazed, saying, Who then can be saved? But Yahshua beheld them, and said unto them, With men this is impossible, but with Elohim all things are possible. Then answered Cephas, and said unto him, Behold, we have forsaken all, and followed you. What shall we have therefore?
Now remember, it says that the married man seeks how he can please his wife. They said, we have forsaken all. Go ahead.
And Yahshua said unto them, Verily I say unto you, that you which have followed me, in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, You also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel.
Now, everybody can't sit there. That's a level that's not set for everybody. You got to know what level you on and what things that you might be talking yourself up into. That's not a level meant for everybody. Go ahead.
And everyone that has forsaken houses, or brethren, or sisters, or father, or mother, or wife, or children, or lands, for my name's sake.
Now, forsaken don't mean that he just left them. He didn't take care of them. No. Remember, the married man seeks how he can please his wife. Being a servant of Yahweh, he got to go and reorder some things. Go ahead.
Shall receive 100-fold, and shall inherit everlasting life. But many that are first shall be last, and the last shall be first.
All right. Let's go to Micah chapter 7. Oftentimes you're going to find where Yahweh has us to reevaluate or reassess some things in our lives. Something that you had on the left, He's going to make you move that and put it on the right. There's some people in your life that's sitting in His seat. They're going to have to get out of His seat. Micah chapter 7, and we're going to read verses 1 through 10.
Woe is me! For I am as when they have gathered the summer fruits, as the great gleanings of the vintage. There is no cluster to eat. My soul desired the first ripe fruit. The good man is perished out of the earth, and there is none upright among men. They all lie in wait for blood. They hunt every man his brother with a net, that they may do evil with both hands earnestly. The prince asks, and the judge asks for a reward. And the great man, he utters his mischievous desire, so they wrap it up. The best of them is as a briar. The most upright is sharper than a thorn hedge. The day of your watchman and your visitation comes. Now shall be their perplexity. Trust you not in a friend, put you not confidence in a guide. Keep the doors of your mouth from her that lies in your bosom.
One of the things we have to understand is sometimes you are keeping your mouth from her that lies at your bosom. That's protection for her. It says that a man must dwell with the woman as being the weaker vessel according to knowledge. Now let's say me and this brother here get into an altercation. And he go home and tell his wife. Then me and him reconcile. But his wife still looking at me in the kitchen. I'm gonna get that. What happened? Me and him, we didn't reconcile. But because he didn't keep his mouth from her that lies at his bosom, now she's still walking around with a grudge that we no longer have. He didn't protect her. Go ahead.
For the son dishonoreth the father, the daughter rised up against her mother, the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies are the men of his own house. Therefore I will look on to Yahweh. I will wait for the Elohim of my salvation. My El will hear me. Rejoice not against me, O mine enemy. When I fall, I shall arise. When I sit in darkness, Yahweh shall be a light unto me. I'll bear the indignation of Yahweh, because I have sinned against him, until he plead my cause and execute judgment for me. He will bring me forth to the light, and I shall behold his righteousness. Then she that is mine enemy shall see it. She that is mine enemy shall see it, And shame shall cover her which said unto me, where is Yahweh your Elohim? Mine eyes shall behold her. Now shall she be trodden down as the mire of the streets.
All right, let's go to Judges chapter 14. It's a real fine line between being an adversary or a helpmeet. All you gotta do is entertain the wrong conversation. And it can happen multiple times in one sitting. 1 minute it's a helpmeet, next minute is an adversary. All because of the conversation that it entertained. And then we have to ask ourselves, what is our responsibility about allowing it to entertain certain conversations? Judges chapter 14, let's read verses 1 through 20.
And Samson went down to Timnath and saw a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines. And he came up and told his father and his mother and said, I have seen a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines. Now therefore get her for me to wife. Then his father and his mother said unto him, is there never a woman among the daughters of your brethren, or among all my people, that you go to take a wife of the uncircumcised Philistines? And Samson said unto his father, get her for me, for she pleases me well.
Right. He didn't go to her daddy and say, you know what, I'm just in love with your daughter. I just love her to Reese's Pieces. I don't know what I'm going to do. I wake up and I hurt. I'm in pain. Every moment I'm not with her. No. He went to his daddy. Hey, man, you know them goats and stuff you got in the back? You know, all them cattle and stuff you've been saving up. I need you to sell that so we can offer this man a dowry. I need you to get me this woman. He went back to his dad and said, look, I need you to get your money right. You've been putting away something for me, right? Well, I found something. Go ahead.
But his father and his mother knew not that it was of Yahweh, that he sought an occasion against the Philistines, for at that time the Philistines had dominion over Israel. Then went Samson down, and his father and his mother, to Timnath, and came to the vineyards of Timnath. And, behold, a young lion roared against him. And the Spirit of Yahweh came mightily upon him, and he rent him as he would have rent a kid. And he had nothing in his hand, but he told not his father or his mother what he had done. And he went down and talked with the woman, and she pleased Samson well. And after a time he returned to take her, and he turned aside to see the carcass of the lion. And, behold, there was a swarm of bees and honey in the carcass of the lion. And he took thereof in his hands, and went on eating, and came to his father and mother, and he gave them, and they did eat. But he told not them that he had taken the honey out of the carcass of the lion. So his father went down unto the woman, and Samson made there a feast, for so used the young men to do. And it came to pass, when they saw him, that they brought 30 companions to be with him. And Samson said unto them, I'll now put forth a riddle unto you. If you can certainly declare it me within the 7 days of the feast, and find it out, then I will give you 30 sheets and 30 changes of garments. But if you cannot declare it me, then you shall give me 30 sheets and 30 changes of garments. And they said unto him, Put forth your riddle, that we may hear it. And he said unto them, Out of the eater came forth meat, and out of the strong came forth sweetness. And they could not in 3 days expound the riddle. And it came to pass on the 7th day that they said unto Samson's wife, Entice your husband, that he may declare unto us the riddle, lest we burn you and your father's house with fire. Have you called us to take that we have? Is it not so? And Samson's wife wept before him and said, You does but hate me, and love me not. You have put forth a riddle unto the children of my people, and have not told it me. And he said unto her, Behold, I have not told it to my father or my mother, and shall I tell it to you? And And she wept before him the 7 days.
She wept before him. All right. She softening him up. Go ahead.
And she wept before him the 7 days, while their feast lasted. And it came to pass on the 7th day that he told her, because she lay sore upon him, and she told the riddle to the children of her people. And the men of the city said unto him on the 7th day before the sun went down, What is sweeter than honey? And what is stronger than a lion? And he said unto them, If you had not plowed with my heifer, you had not found out my riddle.
If you had not plowed with my heifer, you had not found out my riddle. He was not able to keep his mouth from her that lies at his bosom. So now he got a debt to pay. Go ahead.
You know, also we keep going with these things of when does a new day start. They say it was the 7th day before the sun went down.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 19. And the Spirit of Yahweh came upon him, and he went down to Ashkelon.
Where?
Ashkelon.
It's in the news now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And slew 30 men of them, and took their spoil, and gave change of garments unto them, which expounded the riddle. And his anger was kindled, and he went up to his father's house. But Samson's wife was given to his companion, whom he had used as his friend.
Now, it says that the Philistines was over them. That's foreign people.
Mm-hmm.
And the foreign people in the land, they said that, you know, only certain people was in this land. These folk ain't reading their book. And they hope that you're not reading it too. So they can keep telling you them lies. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 13. It's called Canaan land, and they're going to tell you,
Well, no Africans ever, was up in this part of the land.
maybe you should look up the word Canaan. Why do you think they don't refer to Israel as Canaan land? Because you're going to start asking some questions. Wait a minute. Canaan is the son of Ham, which means burnt black. So you telling me that burnt black people lived here before y'all did? They want to tell you that no black people ever been up there.
No, those people down in Africa.
That's why they had to make the Middle East. They had to make it separate. They had to make it to be like, this ain't part of Africa. Lies and propaganda. It was so-called Africans there before Israel got it. Deuteronomy chapter 13, let's start that at verse 1.
If there arise among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and gives you a sign or a wonder, and the sign or the wonder come to pass, whereof he spake unto you, saying, Let us go after other gods, which you have not known, and let us serve them. You shall not hearken unto the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams, for Yahweh your Elohim proves you, to know whether you love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart and with all your soul.
So Yahweh allows some things to see what we gonna do. Check that out. Go ahead.
You shall walk after Yahweh your Elohim, and fear him, and keep his commandments, and obey his voice, and you shall serve him and cleave unto him. And that prophet or that dreamer of dreams shall be put to death, because he has spoken to turn you away from Yahweh your Elohim, which brought you out of the land of Egypt, and redeemed you out of the house of bondage, to thrust you out of the way which Yahweh your Elohim commanded you to walk in. So shall you put the evil away from the midst of you.
Now, it won't always be that somebody is asking you to walk in the way of another God. All they have to do is to try to get you to walk in the opposite direction that Yahweh is leading you in. That's all I got to do. So if you're waiting for somebody to walk up to you and say,
You know what? Let's go serve another God.
that's not how that's going to be presented. Go ahead.
If your brother, the son of your mother, or your son, or your daughter, or the wife of your bosom, or your friend, which is as your own soul, entice you secretly, saying, Let us go and serve other gods, which we have not known, you nor your fathers, namely of the gods of the people which are round about you, near unto you, or far off from you, from the one end of the earth even unto the other end of the earth. you shall not consent unto him, nor hearken unto him. Neither shall your eye pity him, neither shall you spare, neither shall you conceal him. But you shall surely kill him. Your hand shall be first upon him to put him to death, and afterwards the hand of all the people.
So sometimes to keep from having to lay your hands on somebody, you need to present a orderly fashion that keeps them from being able to present something that you're going to have to lay your hands on them for. That's why some people you have to deal with a long handle spoon. I'm going to give you this space. At least you get so close that you try something and then I got to lay my hands on you. Go ahead.
And you shall stone him with stones that he die, because he has sought to thrust you away from Yahweh your Elohim, which brought you out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. And all Israel shall hear and fear, and shall do no more any such wickedness as this is among you. If you shall hear say in one of your cities, which Yahweh your Elohim has given you to dwell there, saying, certain men, the children of Belial, are gone out from among you, and have withdrawn the inhabitants of their city, saying, let us go and serve other gods, which you have not known. Then shall you inquire, and make search, and ask diligently, and, behold, if it be truth, and the thing certain, that such abomination is wrought among you, you shall surely smite the inhabitants of that city with the edge of the sword, destroying it utterly, and all that is therein, and the cattle thereof with the edge of the sword. And you shall gather all the spoil of it into the midst of the street thereof, and shall burn with fire the city, and all the spoil thereof every whit, for Yahweh your Elohim, and it shall be an heap forever, it shall not be built again.
This is a pretty serious matter, that someone has attempted to get you to walk away from your Elohim. Keep going.
And there shall cleave not of the cursed thing to your hand, that Yahweh may turn from the fierceness of his anger, and show you mercy, and have compassion upon you, and multiply you, as he has sworn unto your fathers. When you shall hearken to the voice of Yahweh your Elohim, to keep all his commandments, which I command you this day, to do that which is right in the eyes of Yahweh your Elohim.
All right. So let's go to Genesis chapter 3. Genesis chapter 3, and let's start that at verse 1. Then it was pretty strong. And what we're supposed to do when something attempts to get us to walk away from the direction that our Elohim has put us in. Go ahead.
Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast in the field, any beast of the field which Yahweh your Elohim had made. And he said unto the woman, yea, as Elohim said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden. And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim has said, you shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die.
Now, here it is. Poor woman believed that she in a real conversation. He know everything about what she was told. Here it is, she telling him. And first of all, it wasn't her that was told. So the conversation is a conversation of slickness. Because if he really wanted to know, he would have went to the one who was actually told. Go ahead.
And the serpent said unto the woman, you shall not surely die. For Elohim does know that in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food.
Now, you shall be as gods. All right? Now, when the woman saw that the tree was good for food. Go ahead.
And that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat.
All right. So something has now convinced him to go against his Elohim. It has enticed him to go against his Elohim. He has now been won over by the conversation of his wife. Go ahead.
And the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. And they heard the voice of Yahweh Elohim walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahweh Elohim amongst the trees of the garden.
Now they have this knowledge and now they hide. Go ahead.
And Yahweh Elohim called unto Adam and said unto him, Where are you? And he said, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, Who told you that you was naked?
Right. What you know about nakedness? How you know you were naked? You ain't know what nakedness was last week. I've been coming down here all the time, me and you talking. You ain't know you were naked. You see the innocence of a child, and the child don't know he's naked. You can lay a child on your stomach and enjoy the nakedness of your little baby. And then one day, the child realized that they naked. They be like, don't come in here. I'm putting my clothes on. And he be like, man, my baby gone. You realize that it's a different level when they change. I remember I used to come to the house and my kids run over everything to get to, oh, daddy, oh, daddy. Grab on your leg, make you feel like $1 million. Now I get to the house, they be like, hey, your husband. Man, different life. Go ahead, bro.
Have you eaten of the tree whereof I commanded you that you should not eat? And the man said, The woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. And Yahweh said unto the woman, What is this that you have done? And the woman said, The serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. And Yahweh Elohim said unto the serpent, Because you have done this, you are cursed above all cattle and above every beast of the field. Upon your belly shall you go.
Now there's punishments included with this. Why? Because the statement says you will be as gods. You then have been talked into worshiping another god, and the god was you and her. So you have to suffer that punishment. Go ahead.
And thus shall you eat all the days of your life. And I'll put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. It shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. But unto the woman he said, I'll greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception. In sorrow you shall bring forth children, and your desire shall be to your husband, and he shall rule over you. And unto Adam he said, Because you have hearkened unto the voice of your wife, and have eaten of the tree of which I commanded you.
Now this is his punishment, and why? And unto Adam he said, Because you have hearkened unto the voice of your wife. See, the power of persuasion lies with her, but you got to know what things to listen to. His punishment is very clear. Her punishment, you let the adversary get through that serpent and talk to you. You got deceived. Adam, you weren't deceived. You made a decision to listen to her. He not only tells you what your punishment is, he tell you why you being punished. I'm going to tell you why you getting it. Go ahead.
And have eaten of the tree of which I commanded you, saying, You shall not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for your sake. In sorrow shall you eat of it all the days of your life. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to you, and you shall eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of your face shall you eat bread, till you return unto the ground, for out of it was you taken, for dust you are, and unto dust shall you return. And Adam called his wife's name Eve, because she was the mother of all living.
All right. So let's go to Job chapter 2. See, although Yahweh gave him this wonderful and beautiful gift, he expected him to learn the limitations. So, you know, we known to get a brand new piece of equipment and we just plug it up, just start pressing button. You know, that thing came with an instruction manual.
I mean, I'm ready to see this thing light up. Yeah.
We done erased all kind of settings. The thing had a automatic set. We done erased that just pressing button. Just button pressing, reckless button pressing. Wait a minute. They got a quick start guide. Did you look at the quick start guide? No, but I quickly started it. Now you done messed up the programming. Now, do we take responsibility for the programming that we messed up? See, when we first find something, we off in a certain thought process. Then we help program it according to that life. Then when you come into some new life, guess what? It is your responsibility to help reprogram it for this life. Because you're the one that helped to program it for that old one. Job chapter 2. And I want you to read verses 7 through 10.
So went Satan forth from the presence of Yahweh, and smote Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot onto his crown. And he took him a potsherd to scrape himself withal, and he sat down among the ashes. Then said his wife unto him, Does you still retain your integrity? Curse Elohim and die. But he said unto her, You speak as one of the foolish women speaks.
This is what Adam should have said. You speak as one of the foolish women. I mean, it ain't nobody but you. But you speak, you. But it's hard to speak that when you ain't seen but one, though. Okay? This is easier to say when you've seen multiplicity. It's hard to say that when you ain't seen but one, ain't but one in. I learned when I went to the country, I said, oh, these dudes fight over their women down there. What happened? The numbers is different. I came from Atlanta, it was 20-1. I went to the country, it was 1-20. I said, what happened? I learned them country dudes was big. Hey man, they was 6'5", 220. I like, hey brother, what college you go to? He said, I'm in the 8th grade. I got the money, no. He 220 in the 8th grade. They feed them down there. They put red beans and rice directly in the baby bottle. They cut the whole top of the bottle off. I was like, they be chewing. Right. Go ahead, bro.
What? Shall we receive good at the hand of Elohim? And shall we not receive evil? And all this did not Job sin with his lips.
And all this he did not sin. First man wasn't strong enough to do that. He wasn't strong enough to make that. You gotta understand, man. Today, wait a minute, man. Ain't nobody ever seen what he done seen. It's hey. You may talk about how strong you are now, but hey, man, this is for hey. This is the first time he ever seen something like this. Matter of fact, ain't nobody else ever seen nothing like this. He seen animals, but he ain't never seen nothing like this. He lost his ability. Right. But Yahweh didn't give him no pass, though, did he? Yahweh didn't care. That was the only one he ever seen. Yahweh didn't care. He held him accountable. Okay. Let's go to 1 Kings chapter 21. First Kings chapter 21, and we're going to read verses 4 through 11.
Verse 4. And Ahab came into his house heavy and displeased because of the word which Naboth the Jezreelite had spoken to him. For he had said, I will not give you the inheritance of my fathers. And he laid him down upon his bed and turned away his face and would eat no bread. But Jezebel his wife came to him and said unto him, why is your spirit so sad that you eat no bread? And he said unto her, because I spake unto Naboth the Israelite, and he said unto him, give me your vineyard for money, or else, if it please you, I'll give you another vineyard for it. And he answered, I will not give you my vineyard. And Jezebel his wife said unto him, does you now govern the kingdom of Israel? Arise and eat bread, and let your heart be merry. I'll give you the vineyard of Naboth the Israelite.
I will give it. Now, he didn't specifically go into anything, but I want you to see something here. That a woman was given unto a man as a helpmeet. What does she help you do? You understand that she still helped me, right? But because he's doing evil, she didn't help him do evil. She's helping him. She's helped me. But he's not on the right path, and she helped him stay on the wrong path. Go ahead.
So she wrote letters in Ahab's name and sealed them with his seal.
She wrote letters in his name. So now she now controls the power of his job and uses his authority to put some things in motion. Go ahead.
And sent the letters unto the elders and to the nobles that were in his city, dwelling with Naboth. And she wrote in the letters, saying, proclaim a fast and set Naboth on high among the people. And set 2 men, sons of Belial, before him, to bear witness against him, saying, you did blaspheme Elohim and the king, and then carry him out and stone him that he may die. And the men of his city, even the elders and the nobles who were the inhabitants in his city, did as Jezebel had sent unto them, and as it was written in the letters which she had sent unto them.
Now, she sent the letters, but understand the letters had his name on them. Do you understand? They received letters from Jezebel, but the letters had his seal. So they believed that they were operating under the consent of the king. Mm-hmm. And he didn't ask any questions about how she was going to perform this. He just sat back and let her. Interesting. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 25. Sometimes you have to protect something from itself. First Samuel chapter 25, and we're going to start at verse 21.
Now David had said, surely in vain have I kept all that this fellow has in the wilderness, so that nothing was missed of all that pertained unto him. And he has requited me evil for good. So, and more also do Elohim unto the enemies of David, if I leave at all pertain to him by the morning light any that piss against the wall.
David so mad, he's saying, I'm killing every male among them. Everybody finna die when I get there. Go ahead.
And when Abigail saw David, she hasted and lighted off the ass and fell before David on her face and bowed herself to the ground and fell at his feet and said, upon me, my master, upon me let this lawlessness be, and let your handmaid, I pray you, speak in your audience and hear the words of your handmaid.
The first thing, taking responsibility for something that she didn't even do. Now you have a different level of meekness there. What you find with some people is they like to throw and shift blame. This woman showing up, taking blame that don't belong to her. You watch other folk, they'll throw everybody under the bus to save themselves. Did you see James? Did you see? I know I did such and such, but did you see James? What is she gonna throw under the bus? She threw herself under a bus that didn't have nothing to do with her. So understand, you're already looking at something quite amazing. Go ahead.
Let not my master, I pray you, regard this man of Belial, even Nabal. For as his name is, so is he. Nabal is his name, and folly is with him. But I, your handmaid, saw not the young man of my master, whom you did send.
I saw not the young man, but let this folly be upon me. That was how she started her conversation. Now she said, see, this would have been the start out. I ain't had nothing to do with it, Dave. That wasn't the beginning of her. See, we say we read this book. But I think we'd be purposely skipping over some stuff because we don't want to deal with it. She didn't start off running from accountability. She's taking accountability for something that don't even belong to her. And we'll throw anybody under the bus so that we can avoid accountability. Go ahead.
Now therefore, my master, as Yahweh lives, and as your soul lives, seeing Yahweh has withholden you from coming to shed blood, and from avenging yourself with your own hand, now let your enemies, and they that seek evil to my master, be as Nabal.
Yeah, and she's quite bold as well. Because depending on what's in his heart, he could take this the wrong way. Go ahead.
And now, this blessing which your handmaid has brought unto my master, let it even be given unto the young men that follow my master. I pray you, forgive the trespass of your handmaid, for Yahweh will certainly make my master a sure house, because my master fights the battles of Yahweh, and evil has not been found in you all your days. Yet a man is risen to pursue you, and to seek your soul. But the soul of my master shall be bound in the bundle of life with Yahweh your Elohim, and the souls of your enemies, them shall he sling out as out of the middle of a sling. And it shall come to pass, when Yahweh shall have done to my master according to all the good that he has spoken concerning you, and shall have appointed you ruler over Israel.
She said, and it shall come to pass. She believes in him. Another check. Bing. Go ahead.
That there shall be no grief unto you, nor offense of heart unto my master, either that you have shed blood causelessly, or that my master has avenged himself. But when Yahweh shall have dealt well with my master, then remember your handmaid. And David said to Abigail, Blessed be Yahweh Elohim of Israel, which sent you this day to meet me.
Now, would you be so bold and arrogant that a woman can't persuade you? See, we must know what things to listen to and which things got to go out the window. This is an angry king with warriors with him. Go ahead.
And blessed be your advice, and blessed be you, which have kept me this day from coming to shed blood, and from avenging myself with mine own hand.
You kept me from avenging myself with mine own hand. See, sometimes we so full of rage that we can't be talked down. All these men with him. But he was talked down by the smallest thing in the field. Go ahead.
For in very deed, as Yahweh Elohim of Israel lives, which has kept me back from hurting you, except you had hasted and come to meet me, surely there had not been left unto Nabal by the morning light any that piss against the wall. So David received of her hand that which she had brought him, and said unto her, Go up in peace to your house. See, I have hearkened to your voice, and have accepted your person. And Abigail came to Nabal, and behold, he held a feast in his house, like the feast of a king, and Nabal's heart was merry within him, for he was very drunken. Wherefore she told him nothing, less or more, until the morning light.
She knew better than to talk to a drunken fool. Go ahead.
But it came to pass in the morning, when the wine was gone out of Nabal, and his wife had told him these things, that his heart died within him, and he became as a stone. And it came to pass about 10 days after, that Yahweh smote Nabal, that he died. And when David heard that Nabal was dead, he said, Blessed be Yahweh that has pleaded the cause of my reproach from the hand of Nabal, and has kept his servant from evil. For Yahweh has returned the wickedness of Nabal upon his own head. And David sent and communed with Abigail to take her to him to wife. And when the servants of David were come to Abigail to Carmel, they spake unto her, saying, David sent us to you to take you to him to wife.
So he understood that it was the counsel that was valuable overall, that she was able to convince him not to shed blood and to avenge himself, to learn to wait on Yahweh. See, we have to be careful what things we open our ear to. Let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 3. Because understand now, the difference in the beginning, you talking about the adversary getting in there and using the voice of the woman to talk to the man. When you talk about the adversary then using the voice of the woman, he is bringing knowledge to a voice that you already trust. So in hindsight, it's two of them against you. First Timothy chapter 3, and let's read verses 1 through 7.
This is a true saying. If a man desire the office of a bishop, he desires a good work.
So then Saul has to instruct these Gentiles on leadership because they have some different kind of things going on. They were not raised in the culture and they have a different path than what we have. So he has to instruct them on some things. Go ahead.
A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife.
He said, look, y'all can't have more than one wife. Y'all gonna have a problem following with one. Don't you go over anything over than that, because you're gonna have some problems. Go ahead.
Vigilant, sober, of good behavior, given to hospitality, apt to teach, not given to wine, no striker, not greedy of filthy lucre, but patient, not a brawler, not covetous, one that rules well his own house, having his children in subjection with all gravity.
So before he would officially put them into something, he says, you got to rule your own house with subjection. And how would he know if he does that? Because he's going to watch how your house behaves. That's your wife. That's your kid. I'm watching them. You need to go take care of some business. Ain't nobody got to follow you home. All you got to do is watch how the fuck react. They going to testify against you. Go ahead.
You know, in verse 3 there's one that jumps out, not a brawler.
Uh-huh.
Well, we have a hard time dealing with that one, don't we?
Well, it's one of those things where we learn to have a heart of a stone in the world. And then Yahweh has to start chipping off all that stone. And man, it's real heart surgery. It's heart surgery. Sometimes you got to be put to sleep. Sometimes you got to be put to sleep. Go ahead.
For if a man know not how to rule his own house, how shall he take care of the church of Elohim?
Right. So then Yahweh is exercising you in 3-bedroom and 2.5 bath. This is where he's giving you your exercise. Go ahead.
Not a novice, lest being lifted up with pride he fall into the condemnation of the devil.
Uh-huh.
Moreover, he must have a good report of them which are without, lest he fall into reproach and the snare of the devil.
Right. So we have to then understand, and the adversary looks for ways to come at us. Let's go to our Romans chapter 2. Romans chapter 2, and we're going to read verses 12 through 20.
Verse 12. For as many as have sinned without law shall also perish without law, and as many as have sinned in the law shall be judged by the law. For not the hearers of the law are just before Elohim, but the doers of the law shall be justified. For when the Gentiles, which have not the law, do by nature the things contained in the law, these, having not the law, are a law unto themselves.
Right. This is the New Testament, and it's talking about the two paths to salvation. Yet when you go to speak to people about this, they don't know what you're talking about. Go ahead.
Which show the work of the law written in their hearts, their conscience also bearing witness, and their thoughts the meanwhile accusing or else excusing one another. In the day when Elohim shall judge the secrets of men by Yahshua HaMashiach according to my gospel.
So then there's going to be a judgment. So how leave people die and immediately go to heaven? Man, the New Testament don't even agree with Sunday morning doctrine. They claim they read the New Testament. Man, the New Testament don't agree with Sunday morning doctrine. You can't read the New Testament on Sunday morning. Why do you think they singing and dancing all the damn time? You can't read this on Sunday morning. You can read one line, and then you got to go back to the praise and worship. You got to go to the praise dances. What y'all doing? Because if you stay in here, it's going to bust up some doctrine. Go ahead.
Behold, you are called a Yehudi, and resteth in the law, and maketh your boast of Elohim, and knoweth his will, and approveth the things that were more excellent, being instructed out of the law.
Being instructed out of what?
The law.
Okay.
And are confident that you yourself are a guide of the blind, a light of them which are in darkness.
Now he's talking to the children of Israel. Go ahead.
An instructor of the foolish, a teacher of babes, which has the form of knowledge and of the truth in the law.
Right. Gentiles don't have that. So when we talk about these two paths, when we talk about these things, you have to always, when you're reading, understand who's talking and who are they talking to. Otherwise, you're going to get yourself thrown off trying to get the instructions that was given unto someone else. But let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 4.
Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 1. Hear, you children, the instruction of a father, and attend to no understanding. For I give you good doctrine, forsake not my law. For I was my father's son, tender and only beloved in the sight of my mother. He taught me also, and said unto me, let your heart retain my words, keep my commandments, and live. Get wisdom, get understanding, forget it not, neither decline from the words of my mouth. Forsake her not, and she shall preserve you. Love her, and she shall keep you. Wisdom is the principal thing.
Now, who is it we supposed to forsake not? Forsake her not, and she shall preserve you. Love her, and she shall keep you. Are we not forsaking the right her? Which her are we supposed to be dealing with it? Okay, go ahead.
Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom. And with all you're getting, get understanding. Exalt her.
Who are you exalting?
Wisdom.
Which her have you exalted? Go ahead.
And she shall promote you.
Who are you expecting your promotion to come from? Go ahead.
She shall bring you to honor when you does embrace her.
Who are you embracing? Go ahead.
She shall give to your head an ornament of grace. A crown of glory shall she deliver to you. Hear, O my son, and receive my sayings, and the years of your life shall be many. I have taught you in the way of wisdom. I have led you in right paths. When you goeth, your steps shall not be straitened. And when you runneth, you shall not stumble. Take fast hold of instruction. Let her not go. Keep her, for she is your life.
Uh-huh. Now, if you got the wrong she here, you know you got some issues, right? You got the wrong she. You keep looking for she. What she you think is your life? Go ahead.
Enter not into the path of the wicked, and go not into the way of evil men. Avoid it, pass not by it, turn from it, and pass away. For they sleep not, except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away, unless they cause some to fall. For they eat the bread of wickedness, and drink the wine of violence. But the path of the just is as the shining light, that shines more and more unto the perfect day. The way of the wicked is as darkness, they know not at what they stumble. My son, attend to my words, incline your ear unto my sayings. Let them not depart from your eyes, keep them in the midst of your heart. For they are life unto those that find them, and health to all their flesh. Keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Put away from you a froward mouth, and perverse lips put far from you. Let your eyes look right on, and let your eyelids look straight before you. Ponder the path of your feet, and let all your ways be established. Turn not to the right hand, nor to the left. Remove your foot from evil.
Remove your foot from evil. We have to remember all of these things when we look at what a helpmeet is supposed to do. And then we remember that Yahweh has spoken to us collectively as Israel, saying that I am married unto you. So then that makes us his helpmeet. So what you gonna help him do? Right. That's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.